Spanish and collard greens. I got what you need if you want it. Cause I'm a pimp, girl. If you want it.
Hey guys, welcome back to yet another episode of What's for Dinner, or should I say, for this video's sake, what's for breakfast, because I'm going to be making this delicious, nutritious, affordable breakfast bake or casserole, whatever you want to call it, and it's gonna be fire. My favorite part about this recipe is that you probably already have all of these ingredients in your fridge or freezer. The first thing I'm doing to get started, I'm just cracking up my eggs. I cracked about 6 eggs for a 9x9 pan. Of course, if you have a bigger pan, use more. If you have a smaller pan, use less. And the next thing I'm doing is I'm just adding in some milk because we want these eggs to be fluffy and mix well with all the other ingredients. I'm adding a little bit of salt. Even though I put it in the spoon, I really didn't measure it. I kind of just poured it. And I also added some black pepper. And I'm also adding some garlic powder. And like some cayenne pepper. And also some paprika. And a little bit of red pepper flakes. Because I want this to be just a little bit spicy. Okay? I'm sorry. All right, anyway, so I'm just beating that together very, very good until it's fluffy, until I see a little bit of bubbles at the top. The next thing I'm doing here is I'm just taking my week-old cornbread and I'm crumbling it up really nicely into the pan. Now, you don't need to have it too fine. They can be a little bit coarse because we're not making cornbread dressing. We're making a breakfast bake, so we don't need to do all the extra. All right, the very next thing that we're gonna do is I just preheated my skillet with some oil. I used olive oil, but you can use butter or whatever oil that you have. And I just added about half of a medium to large white onion to my pan, and I'm going to let this cook down a little bit until the onions are at least translucent. And then I'm going to add in my good old butterball breakfast sausage. That butterball breakfast sausage is something else, honey. If you ain't tried butterball breakfast sausage, you need to try you some butterball breakfast sausage, okay? It's so good. So I'm just cooking that in with my onions until it's all nice and brown and cooked all the way through. We want it to cook all the way through because we're going to let it sit overnight. So it needs to be cooked thoroughly. And as you can see, our meat is done pretty much. So I'm going to take this off of the heat and let it cool down quite a bit before we add it to the rest of the ingredients because we are dealing with eggs. Here I'm using 1 fresh diced tomato. This is a Roma tomato. You can use whatever you have. If all you have is Rotel tomatoes or tomatoes in a can, use that. To my tomatoes and cornbread, I'm just adding in that meat that I allowed to cool for at least 10 minutes because you don't want it to be piping hot before you add the eggs. So I just let it cool for about 10 minutes and I'm adding this in with the rest of my mixture. So then I'm just mixing it up. I'm mixing everything together, making sure everything is nice and incorporated. I really want that cornbread to be mixed in well with that with that sausage. So I wanted to make sure that was all incorporated before I started adding everything else. And then here I am adding in about a cup of corn. You can skip the corn or use something else. Bell peppers would be great, but I love the sweetness of corn with this recipe. And I'm just mixing everything together once again, making sure everything is nice and incorporated. And the next thing I'm adding here is a 1/3 cup of pure maple syrup. This is going to blend in so immaculately with the rest of these ingredients, y'all. I promise. So good. So here I'm just taking some clarified butter and I am just using this to grease up my pan. And then I'm just adding all of that good old cornbread mixture to that pan. And honey, oh, it's gonna be good. I'm excited just looking at it, baby. So I'm just pressing the mixture down so that everything is nice and kind of like solidified. before we add in our egg mixture. My favorite part about this recipe is that you can make it ahead, which is exactly what I did in this video. I made it ahead, and here I'm just adding my eggs over top, straight to the top of the mixture. Look at these good old seasoned eggs. Look at that seasoning, y'all. Woo! Yes, honey. So here, like I said, this is an overnight meal, so I'm just wrapping my bake up, and I'm just gonna add it to the refrigerator. So now it is the next morning. Our bake is ready to go into the oven. As you can see, those eggs have really set into the mixture, and I'm just going to preheat my oven at 350 and leave this in there for about 30 to 45 minutes, just until the eggs are cooked all the way through. Now it's been about 30 minutes. I took my bake out of the oven, and now I'm ready to add some cheese. That's right, we are not done just yet. We're gonna add some good old cheese. I added some some sharp cheddar cheese, already shredded, of course, because who finna shred some cheese? Not me. So I added my sharp cheddar, and I also went in with some good old Fiesta blend cheese. That's Old Faithful, honey. That's Old Faithful. Now we're just going to add this back into the oven for about 15 more minutes until that cheese is nice and crusty brown on the top. This is how it came out looking, y'all. Get into it. Get into it. Get into it. Get into it. I'm gonna let it cool off for about like 10 minutes, because I'm ready to dig in. I'm hungry. I ain't even gonna lie to you. I had to go ahead and cut me a little piece, child, because we was hungry in this household. And when we hungry, we eat. So I had to cut me a little piece already. I couldn't wait no 10 minutes for it to cool down. So I just went on ahead and dug in. I added a little bit of salsa on top, or picante sauce, whatever you want to add on top. Some avocado cream would be delicious on this. And yeah, that's really it for this recipe. And I really hope you guys have enjoyed. I hope you like. I hope you comment. I hope you share. I hope you subscribe. And I hope you learn something. And that's all for this video, y'all. See y'all later.
That Lord.